Welcome to MRL Speaks, the premier podcast covering the contract design industries. Brought to you by My Resource Library.
Hi, I'm Jeff Carlson with My Resource Library. I'm with Matt Levine from Levine Contract Group, which I think they actually have a new name now, if I'm not mistaken. Correct, Matt?
Yes, we are Levine Contract Furniture Group now.
That's right.
Celebrating the Levine name.
Fantastic. Well, Matt, thanks for joining us on MRL Speak. I appreciate it. It's great to see you and make sure you're doing okay, because I know you're out of the New York, New Jersey area, right?
Yes, I am. It's strange times.
Strange times indeed. So I wanted to ask you just a couple of questions. One is the name change. So how did Levine Contract Furniture Group and Levine, it used to be Levine Calvano.
Levine Calvano, yeah. It's appropriate to start a conversation with that because it's a great story. My father started the company in 1973, and back then it was just him sitting in the Pan Am building at 42nd and Park, renting a desk and representing two manufacturers. And a few years later, at that time it was called Levine Contract Furniture. A few years later, his friend John Calvano joined him, who was from Brooklyn, but they met out in Michigan when they both worked for Directional. And John wanted to move back to New York City to be close to family and get out of the Midwest. Back in the 70s, it was not the same place it is today.
That's
and
for sure.
At least for John Calvano.
Yeah.
And he called my dad, asked him if he could join him in this thing called a rep group. And I think my dad told him he could make like $100 a week. And John quit and drove back to New York.
Wow.
And they were partners up until I think it was 5 or 6 years ago when John retired. And when John joined the company, it was Levine Calvano Furniture Group. And after John retired, we changed the name to Levine Contract Furniture Group as kind of a gift to my father, who passed away last year.
Oh.
And we changed the name, I think about 4 years ago officially. And we did that for a couple of reasons, just to play on our family name, because my father was still coming in every day at that point. And also, quite simply, because the acronym was the same and we didn't have to change our email address or our website.
Smart. Very smart. So you're basically second generation in the furniture group.
Yes, I am second generation. And in New York City and in our industry, there's a lot of second and third generation people. Manufacturing, reps, dealerships. We're starting to see it in design firms as well. And it's nice to see. Some people would say that, it's nice because family gets to work together.
Yep.
I had a wonderful relationship with my father. We never had a fight in the 28 years that we worked together. But I have a feeling that nepotism is just a wonderful thing. And not a lot of people want to get into the exciting world of office furniture when they could be working at a tech company or maybe doing something a little bit more, I guess, exciting.
Yeah, that's kind of a good way of putting it. So I'm a third generation furniture. My grandfather started a rep group, and my entire family is in contract furniture. I tried to avoid it at all costs. I often tell this story. Before I joined the rep group, I was out in Arizona where I live now, but I was working in the liquor industry. So I was building displays appropriate. I was building the displays of Jack Daniels in grocery stores out here in Arizona and selling them cases and putting boats in and putting Jack Daniels around it and everything else. And I often tell people, because they think that must have been a great lifestyle, that I left that industry to join the furniture industry so I could drink more, actually.
There you go. It might be more acceptable in our industry than the liquor industry.
Yeah. So it's kind of fun because you're right. There are a lot of great family histories that are tied to this industry for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. It's nice to pass the baton. There is a problem, though, in our industry with succession plans, even where some of the, mostly in dealerships and rep firms, not so much in design firms and manufacturing, but where there might even be some family in place, but the kids and the new generation just don't want to be involved in it.
Yep.
It's not easy, and I joke about it not being exciting, but I have no complaints about it. It's
Yep.
like most industries, smaller industries in our country, where you know people nationally. You do get to meet some wonderful people on all sides of the industry, and I met my wife in the industry.
Nice.
And I can thank my company for that. Otherwise, I wouldn't have gotten to meet her.
Was she a designer, or how did you meet your wife?
She's a designer by trade, but she was working at a large dealership at the time.
Oh, nice.
In the as a I think as a designer or a project manager. She had a few positions there.
Okay.
And she grew out of that position to the point where, for the past 10 years until November, when she sort of retired of her own volition, she was a competitor.
Really?
In sales. Yeah.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
So I met my wife on a cold call at a design firm in Cleveland, Ohio. I fell immediately in love. It took her months to kind of warm up to the idea, but she now
Sounds
owns
familiar.
her own, exactly. She owns her own rep group here in Arizona, so it's kind of it is an interesting thing, and we tell each other when we go for walks and everything else. Now it's like, all right, let's not talk about work, but at the same time, we're so immersed in everything that's going on. It's really hard not to talk about work, right? I mean, it's just what's going on with manufacturers, what's going on with dealers, what's going, everything across the board is fascinating. So it's very interesting time right now.
It is, and those talks, we have the same ones, but you're mostly talking about personalities, and it's usually a constructive conversation.
Yeah.
I can tell you that I wouldn't be where I am now if it wasn't for listening to my wife. She's much better at sales than she thought she was.
Does she have a gun pointed at you right now, Matt? I mean, I know she's home, so you're giving her a lot
around, but no.
Okay.
There's no gun pointed, but everybody in New York and the tri-state area knows that she's much smarter than me.
Well,
it's no secret.
What's funny is that here in Arizona, most people don't even know my wife is married to anybody, let alone to me. And it's funny when the light bulb goes off above their head, like, wait a minute, are you married to the guy that does my resource library? Laura just was like, yep, that's my husband. It's kind of funny, but she is the brains of our family as well. So
I would expect.
It's good to be married to a strong woman, and it sounds like you and I kind of both met our spouses the exact same way. So
very lucky. I'm the luckiest guy there is.
Well, I don't know. Yeah, I was just going to say, I'm going to have to call a little on that one, but yeah.
Okay.
So tell me now, what are the lines that you guys represent right now? And you cover just the New York City and New Jersey?
We're the New York's tri-state area. So from our industry's perspective, we're in New York City, and we go out to Montauk, Long Island, and we're into New Jersey down to Princeton, and we go up a couple of counties into New York, Westchester, Dutchess, Rockland.
Okay.
We represent our manufacturers entirely in that territory, that geographical area, as opposed to some reps that we speak to on a regular basis who might have 8 states and they have a few manufacturers in each state, for competitive reasons, state by state. But for us, I'm happy to say that we've got a nice mix of manufacturers. We represent 12 manufacturers right now. I guess in alphabetical order, if I can get it right. We represent ECA Deco, ESI, Egan. We represent Gordon International, Krug, and Krug Healthcare, which we count as one manufacturer, but it's really 2.
Yeah.
And we've got Stylex, Not One, Watson Desking, Nevins, and Workspace 48, and Woodstock Seating. I probably left somebody out there.
Nevins Office Specialty.
Office Specialty, yes.
Yep.
Those as well.
So I was actually following along on your website to see if you could actually, I would never have been able to do that alphabetically. You came pretty close.
Well, I've been staring. I actually turned my computer off, which is off to your right, my left, and because I've been staring at it all day.
Yeah, I bet.
But I love our manufacturers, I have to say. I say it to my team all the time that I don't think they know how lucky they are to represent the manufacturers that we do.
Yep.
Not just because it's quality product, and it's really about the people.
Yep.
Going back to what I said before, the sales managers we have that we have touches with constantly, either by phone or video message these days. We have people who are local, even someone who's embedded with us, and right down to the people on the factory floor, from one manufacturer to another. They are second to none, and we really do look at a manufacturer very hard.
Yep.
There's probably about 20 different checkpoints I have when speaking to a new manufacturer, which actually we didn't take on. Our line package didn't change for quite a number of years until probably about, I'd say 2 years ago, when we started representing Gordon International, who was a neighbor for many years. Took on Deco ECA, which has become a wonderful relationship and a new avenue for us to have conversations with corporations and designers and dealers.
Yep.
And most recently, Workspace 48. But
I'm not familiar with those guys. I'm not. Mm-hmm. I don't know those guys at all. Workspace
They're
48.
A little bit under the radar.
Okay.
They're growing carefully, but they've been around for about 10 years out of Toronto. They changed their name recently and have wonderful marketing. But it is a transactional company that has, reception, private office, benching, and conference furniture, all shipping in 48 hours out of stock.
Oh, wow. And
we wanted a way to combine that story with two other transactional companies we have, or stock companies, ESI and Woodstock, to provide our market with a very rapid delivery system with manufacturers that really spoke to each other product-wise and philosophy-wise for go-to-market, and also with their personal stories. And that happened before the pandemic and the lockdown, but it's what was something that we were looking to put together finally coming to fruition right before this happened is making me look very smart, but it's really just dumb luck because in our market, people needed everything yesterday already.
Yep.
Now, leases haven't stopped. And clients are looking to make sure that there's a home for their people, even with new offices that they haven't been to yet. And they're saying, I need to be in. I got calls today, the end of April. People want to be in June 1st. And that was already going on. We even have people who are saying they want to be on May 15th.
Wow.
In case the lockdown ends, and so that they can have people up and running. So we actually have a full package of product that we can provide to our dealers mostly, who call those calls from the broker community to outfit an office with quality furniture from reception back to the president's office, and do it at a budget and quickly.
Well,
speed is the name of the game now.
It really is. I was talking to a manufacturer earlier about that, and I really believe that that's going to be the thing that, as this all wraps up, you're still going to have a lot of speed to market. Like, you're going to literally have to do a quick ship program for everything, because it's just going to open up the floodgates. Lead times are going to go out, would be my question. So, or my thought anyway.
Lead times aren't going out right now. You'd be surprised. Out of all of our manufacturers, only one of them is completely closed. And they're slowly starting to open up already. A lot of orders have stopped coming in, but most of our manufacturers, we're very lucky. I'll knock on my Watson laminate table here, that most of our manufacturers were up and running, maybe not at full capacity because of supply chain,
Yep.
but lead times haven't kicked out for us.
Okay.
And it's not bragging. It's nothing I want to, stick in anybody's face.
Yep.
But from the people who are already planning on working with us,
Yeah.
they're being, managed quite well, and their clients are happy. We've spent actually most of the time on logistics for trucks that were already on the way with product and trying to deliver warehouses that were full.
Yeah.
So we have the dealer community's gotten slammed with logistics.
Yep.
And I don't think people really appreciate how much they're doing to try and save manufacturers from taking product back and clients from finding homes for their product where it didn't exist sometimes hours before deliveries were supposed to happen.
Yeah.
But I think lead times across the board, if a manufacturer's been closed for 8 weeks, when they open up, a lot of the raw materials might already be there to make some of the product that stopped production or got stopped in production.
Yep.
There might be a lag, so you might see 4 weeks getting tacked on.
Yep.
For most of the manufacturers, and a lot of the clients are going to be forgiving.
I think so too. I think it's going to be a very forgiving industry. It's never traditionally been considered one. When somebody schedules an open house for tomorrow and orders the furniture yesterday, it's not a very forgiving industry to be in. But I think it will be after this. I think there'll be a nice grace period provided to everybody. So, well, you definitely represent some amazing manufacturers. I did a post on just my home office here. And it was funny, I've drawn a blank at the gentleman's name. In fact, I owe him an email. But ECA and Deco responded to my post saying, your wire management is horrible. If you send me your address, I will send you all the wire management that you need so that you can repost that picture and look a lot better than the way that I currently look. So, good guys.
Yeah, Deco and ECA are fantastic. It was probably Dustin that reached out to you, or maybe it was Phil Harris, who's our Eastern Regional Manager.
Yep.
They're wonderful people to work with, and they just came out with new wire management that looks fantastic.
Yeah, he's ready to go, and and then of course I stand all day at an ESI table, which is one of your manufacturers.
Yes. We had a wonderful call with Julie Dillon from ESI today.
Nice.
One of the better manufacturer calls we had this week, and we have many.
I bet.
They're wonderful people to work with, and for a company that stocks all their product, they're marketed like a design-friendly company. It's an amazing company to work with.
And then right behind me, over my shoulder, you'll see the whiteboard. That's Egan Property.
Very good.
So I'm representing several of your companies now in my office.
Yeah, thank you very much. Your commission check is in the mail.
Yeah, thank you. Gordon International, we went round and round with those guys for a long time, but we finally got them in the library. They have phenomenal products. I love all of their seating, and they've just they're a very neat company that I think does really well. So.
Yeah, a lot of people are not familiar with them, but they're right in our backyard in New Jersey.
Yep.
So it's a local company. They import product that they license out of mostly Italy, and they are manufacturing right in New Jersey. They have wonderful upholstery, and you got to watch out for them. They're kind of a sleeper right now.
Yep.
But Peter is doing wonderful things there. Peter Spalding, the owner of the company, and Sue Ellen Mayer is one of our just the best people in the industry. She's our sales manager by default. She's the national sales manager, but she actually, when our showrooms open, she's one of the people who works locally with us. So we're fortunate enough to have her come into the showroom at least once a week and have local support. And she waves the flag, and we've learned a lot from them when it comes to seating and just design in general.
Yeah, they've got some wonderful, wonderful products that bridge the hospitality to contract. They're just a fascinating company. I think you're right. They've really invested into their imagery. Their images are fantastic. Their colors that they're selecting are amazing. I think they'll do really well. And Krug, I was just up at Krug in the fall in Toronto, or in Kitchener. So I had a chance to see their facility, and man, they are one big, big company. They do some really nice products.
Yeah, they are a lot bigger than most people realize. They're one of the largest furniture companies that's independently owned in our industry. Len Ruby, who you can get on the phone 24/7.
Well, you can. Junkie. Just so you know, I can't. You can get him on the phone.
He'd pick up the phone if you call him.
Yeah.
But, it's been in the family for years. He's the sole owner right now. It's a huge operation, and you were just there, so you know that on one side of the street, they've got the new facility.
Yep.
Highly automated, and then you look across the street and you say that could not be a furniture manufacturing plant where they make modern pieces.
Yeah.
And you walk inside, and it's like walking inside a building that does not look like the 125-year-old factory that it is. And that's where they make all of the seating, and they bend wood. It's an amazing facility.
Yeah, I'd imagine they're probably one of your bigger lines, correct?
They are, and we flew under the radar for a long time. We're trying to have a bigger conversation about distribution with them in our market, which is pretty crowded, but they're a wonderful value. They make more product than people realize. Even our everyday clients are always surprised by the depth of a line. And healthcare, right now, the healthcare is booming.
Yep.
So they never shut down. They were deemed essential almost immediately, and they have been over capacity for the past 2 months. Not just for healthcare, but also all of the commercial products. And one of the secrets about them that we're not trying to keep it a secret, but a lot of people don't believe us, but they're really good at tweaking their standard product to do custom items. And they'll do it for a quantity of one because they know that if we impress, people will come back.
Interesting.
They have a huge staff of engineers and specifiers that they make us look very good on a daily basis. They really do.
Well, and then you've got, of course, my friend Brian from Nevins.
Brian Nevins, yes.
Yep.
Who I will say publicly, he's finally home in Houston, or outside of Houston on the ranch.
Yep.
In Cat Spring, Texas, when the COVID crisis happened. He was actually stuck in New Zealand, where he's from originally.
Oh, you're kidding? And, I did not know that.
He had a journey of a lifetime. A friend got him onto, one of the last flights from New Zealand to California, spent 10 hours trying to hide from people in the airport there in the middle of the night, got on a connecting flight to Texas where his family had congregated, including the kids.
Yep.
And this must have been tough because he's a family man.
Yep.
After traveling for, it must have been 36 hours, he finally got home. He went and got a car, waved to them inside, and drove to Colorado to the family house.
Oh, yeah.
Where he self-quarantined for 14 days.
Nice.
And really, I have to say that for someone who's so into family, and his 2 daughters are running the company when he's off gallivanting, figuring out what the next furniture introduction is going to be. That was tough for him. And I spent some time on the phone with him from his house in Colorado, and he's raring to go. They actually have a new manufacturing facility opening in the Carolinas.
Nice.
For Gresham out of the UK that they've licensed. And they have, I have to say, maybe 30 new designs posted on their website. And as soon as the pandemic is over, they're rolling into production with all new products, short lead time and great price point.
Nice.
And I had 3 trips. I saw you on one of them.
Yep.
Out west in January. And one of the trips was to Houston, where Nevins and Gresham took over a ballroom in a historic hotel there. The name escapes me. And they basically recreated the Gresham showroom that's in London.
Oh, nice.
In Houston. And we basically picked the line out. Me and some other great people. Justin Rodenbeck was there,
Yep.
Dan Binford, and a few other people.
Yep.
Had a great time. We were all there for 24 hours. And it was so impressive to meet the gang again from the UK. They have
Yep.
excellent manufacturing capabilities, wonderful people. And Brian and his daughters could not have been prouder. Really good, budget-friendly, accessible pieces.
So I've spent several nights out at the ranch. He invites me to come out and stay, and we have many long night discussions into the wee hours. Usually he ends up leaving, and then Catherine and I continue to talk until probably 1 or 2 in the morning. And it always amazes me is that he always makes me some of the best food while we're there. So his hospitality is off the charts when it comes in. I do go out there quite a bit. I've been out there twice so far, but I was invited again and I wasn't able to make it. And of course, this year I won't be going. But,
well, we'll have to go together next time because we might be the only 2 people that drink bourbon that he knows.
Oh yeah. Well, and he always has Jack Daniels there for me, so he likes it when I come there. So
he's a wonderful host. He really is.
He is. And then of course you got Stylex and Watson and Woodstock. I mean, phenomenal wines.
If I started diving into how much I'm in love with Stylex, we'd never get off this podcast. But suffice to say, John and Bruce Golden, who are cousins, who own Stylex, we've represented them for almost 20 years. Back then, they were not the company that everybody knows now. But our friend Jeff Simon was the sales manager at the time. Who's now a rep in Houston. He called 3 times to ask us to take the line on. And I remember John and Harvey, my father and John Calvano, said no twice. And then Jeff called back and said, listen, you just got to listen to them for like 5 minutes. And if you do, I guarantee that you'll take the line on. And it's the last time that Jeff was right about anything.
Not this Jeff, right?
Exactly. No, Jeff Simon, who's a lovely guy. But I'm kidding. But we spoke to John and Bruce, and they said, we will be a high design line with accessible pricing and wonderful marketing. And they laid out basically a 12 to 15-year plan. And, I'll be damned if they didn't beat their timeline. And back at a very critical time, they introduced the Sava chair, which became synonymous with Stylex. And it skyrocketed them and provided them with security to develop what everybody sees now. And it's just a wonderful company to work with. I'm very proud to work with them.
All of your manufacturers are really fantastic. Stylex is by far, I've got a great history with them and a great love for them too. They do an amazing job. I'm familiar with all of them except for, obviously the one that I mentioned earlier. And then Not One, I'm just now meeting with Not One to get them to be a part of my resource library. So we're working with Matt, I think it's Matt Welsh.
Matt Welsh.
So
you could actually get him on the phone right now in the UK. It's about time for him to walk his dog. Get a break from the family. He's been sheltering in place for probably 5 or 6 weeks now as well. And again, a wonderful company. Great street cred with the design community. And again, wonderful people to work with. Really a pleasure. I'm so fortunate never have to look at the phone to wonder who's calling me.
I do that every day, just so you know, just to wonder who's calling me, and it's
that's why you don't pick up the phone when I call.
That's why I don't pick up the phone. It's fair. So as we talked about your manufacturers, tell me about your team. How many people do you have working for you?
Oh, boy, I'll try not to brag too much, but there's 8 of us,
Okay.
and that doesn't count the people that work with us day to day from the manufacturers who are local,
Okay.
which is basically 3.5 people. But
Yep.
the support team is where it all starts. And Greg Waldron, who's John Calvano's nephew,
Okay.
and Justine Spicer are the 2 people with the longest tenure. I think Justine has been with our company for over 35 years. I know she
Wow.
has. I don't remember the exact number of years, but she's really the backbone. She's the class mom. She's the one that we go to for information about manufacturers that nobody remembers.
Yep.
And she's a wealth of knowledge and just a great person. Greg wears many hats, and we're lucky to have him. He went to NYU in Columbia, and he actually lives in Colorado, which a lot of people don't realize.
Oh,
He works
interesting.
remotely.
Hmm.
And he does all of our website, social media, although he's getting an assist right now, and project management.
Okay.
So he wears a bunch of hats. And then Karen Rorda, who has been with us for, I think, 2 years now, is also working from home just north of Philadelphia in Cherry Hill. And they're the backbone of our company.
Yeah.
The way we're set up, we provide a lot of services. We do a lot of quotes. We provide a lot of guidance and make selections in value engineering for design firms and dealers on full ancillary packages. And they do the work. The 3 people do the work of 8.
Wow.
It is amazing.
Huh.
And we have Natasha Gampat is our showroom manager, and sort of keeps us all in line. She's our conscience, as it were.
Yep.
And for sales, again, I'll try not to brag too much, but Susie Ashoff joined us, I think, over 4 years ago, having no sales experience, but she was working at a dealership. A wonderful person with a thirst for knowledge, and for a person who has 3 daughters at home. I think she went out every night networking for the first 3 years that she worked with us.
Wow.
She's an animal, and really just a wonderful person to work with, always optimistic. And she puts miles on the car every day. She covers New Jersey for us. And then Ann Isaacidis joined us a few years ago at a critical time, actually, because it was when my father was phasing out.
Yeah.
And he handled most of the healthcare accounts that we had. And Ann came in with a great knowledge of healthcare, which we already had a great run with. And she's expanded it through her relationships and her hard work. And she's an industry vet. She's been in the industry for almost 30 years, dealer, manufacturer, and now rep. And she's a breath of fresh air. She covers New York City and Long Island.
Okay.
And then most recently, we have Sarah Samuels, who joined us, who is also, her mother has been in the industry, working at a textile company for years.
Okay.
And she joined us. She is young. She's a millennial. And she is the hardest working millennial I've ever met. Amazing presentation skills, takes copious notes, asks all the right questions, and just loves to be in front of people. And I just think the world of her.
Nice.
And I have to say, in the new normal, she wins the prize for our company for holding video conferences and being comfortable on camera, because she is a musician by trade. So she could present to 1 or 50 people if they want to learn about a chair. And she could probably walk into a music venue and play piano and sing for about 1,000 and not break a sweat.
Wow.
So she impresses me every day.
That's nice. That's nice.
Yeah.
It's a good team.
I'm really, really lucky and very proud. And I'll give a shout out to Caitlin Dinsmore, who works for ESI and is embedded with us and works every day with us. And Georgia Bate, who's our regional manager for Krug and works out of the Krug showroom in our building from home now, but basically he's in our backyard. And Sue Ellen, who I mentioned earlier from Gordon International, lives just north of the city. We spend an awful lot of time with her. And Julie Dillon, who travels when she's not under lockdown, probably does 1 million miles a year. I have no idea, but she pops into our territory every month. But she's one of those people that if you need her, she's on the phone 24/7.
Yeah, Julie's awesome.
She's fantastic. I've learned a lot from her, especially during this lockdown. She's the one that calls me to have a chat before we talk about business. And it's been wonderful having her as a resource.
Well, I just ordered yesterday. I just sent in my order. My rep for ESI is Rob Day, who's basically the general manager of ESI. But he drew the short straw, so he gets to deal with my company. So I just ordered, what did I order? 4 new height adjustable tables, 3 new sets of monitor arms, and one of the Motific tables. So for my office.
Rob's a great general manager because he was in the trenches selling. And it's always funny to be in a meeting with him. And we had a great rep council. That was one of the trips
out to Arizona, right?
Arizona, the week before our meeting, actually. Or maybe it was the week after.
Should have been the week of. They should time that better next time.
Yeah, I think we will. But Rob is the most enthusiastic general manager I have ever met in my life. And I think his nickname should be ShamWow. And the great thing is, it's all genuine. There's not an ounce of anything but truth in him. And he has a great sidekick now out in Arizona, in Todd Holderness, who was a Jersey guy, South Jersey, but we'll still give him the Jersey moniker, closer to Philly. But another industry vet that ESI brought on, that I got to spend time with at the Rep Council, and he was so knowledgeable, not just about the industry in general, and really helped us with the placement of how the company's moving forward. So wonderful support team.
Todd actually lives in my neighborhood. So when Todd and I go way back as well, actually I've known Todd probably the longest. When he was with Jami, I was the Fixtures Furniture rep at the time. So that's how I met Todd. And so when I heard he was moving here, I called him and I said, so, if you need any help or whatever. And he goes, well, we're trying to find a place to live. And I said, you really should try where I live. It's a phenomenal community. And I said, and it's easy to get to ESI. I mean, we're maybe 30 minutes from ESI, but never traffic. And so he did, and he ended up moving into the neighborhood. So we get together quite regularly. In fact, he came over to the office on Saturday because I had my barber come and take care of my hair. So
I saw the post on LinkedIn. That was the best post in a while.
You have to have a little fun every once in a while, and everything I do gets posted, so it's kind of fun to do that stuff. But so let me ask you a couple other quick questions. Gosh, and I'm drawing a blank as to how many years we've been doing this, but what was it? 5 or 6 years ago, we started a group of a bunch of reps across the country. We now call that group, or you guys actually titled the group, to the North American Independent Rep Council. And so I know I started it, and I know I reached out to you and asked if you wanted to participate, and you joined, and we're thrilled to have you as part of the group. Tell me your thoughts about the group.
Well, the group is fantastic because it's unlike any network. It's not really a networking group, but any group that I'm part of in the industry, because it's national. There's one rep group from each generally major territory or region. I think there's over 20 firms that are members.
16 territories.
16 territories. Okay.
Yep,
I think
16.
some of the territories are so big that they have multiple people come.
There you go.
But yeah, I don't know how they do it, but hat off to them.
Yep.
But the group came about. I was so happy that you called because I was talking to, I think it was Justin Rodenbach at that time, saying, we got to start a national group. We got to start talking to each other. And, people were, starting to talk more about the global economy and the Amazon effect. And, all these, birds were chirping, in our kitchen of this, sort of insular industry. And like, we got to start sharing information, and maybe we can share resources. And I don't remember who called. It wasn't you. Someone said, hey, Jeff Carlson's trying to get a group together, and sort of laid out the bare bones of what it was going to look like. And I said, I'm in.
Yep.
I'm in. So when you called, I was waiting for it.
Good.
And it's wonderful because we all share information, the good, the bad, and the ugly. I've learned more from that group than any other mentor that I've had, other than my father and John Calvano, because nothing's going to replace that. But there's some people who are very similar that I hold in regard professionally in that fashion. I won't name them because I don't want to give them any ammunition against me. But I can say that during this shutdown, I do speak to other reps locally who are not part of a group like this. And I'm not going to say they're flailing, but they have questions that we all pose to each other day one.
Yep.
And we're just so lucky to have each other that, and I've shared some of that knowledge, not proprietary, but some of the ideas about just making sure that, how to market yourselves, how to, deal with things that are going on now that are uncharted.
Yep.
But I can tell you that I look forward to those meetings. We meet at NeoCon, which was the kickoff the first time. And then after, I think it was 2 years, you had the smart idea to say, this is more than a day, let's meet a second time. And the Arizona meetings have been, I think, even better because we're more focused on our companies and each other. And it's the each other that we don't really get at the beginning of NeoCon. For people who are not familiar with the group, we meet at NeoCon the Friday before it kicks off. We're all showing up like morning of. We're all exhausted. We're all about to face 45 straight hours of manufacturer meetings.
Yep.
And new products and seeing people, and it's sensory overload. But that meeting is the calm before the storm, where we know who we're going to see. It's a welcome environment. I love NeoCon. It's always welcoming to me. But to know what you're walking into with an agenda, know that you might get some answers to questions you've had for the past few months.
Yep.
And at least at NeoCon, we have some great manufacturers that show up that support it and sponsor it. And some wonderful speakers that you line up that I've learned so much from. And now that we've evolved into, I think that we're in year 6, and that second meeting, I think it was 18 months ago that you asked to step aside from running it.
Yep.
And that was probably where the group really stepped up.
Yep.
In, I think, really sharing more, because we all had more of a vested interest, because 3 of the group started really running it. And that was, Cronin, Aller, and Mudge.
Yep.
I think it is. And
Gallery.
Gallery, yeah, sorry.
Yep. That's all right.
Sorry, Mike. And he works harder than anybody. And they really got some wonderful speakers, and were sharing information that you could never have even anticipated.
Yeah.
Being a former rep, what we need to know about, but things change so quickly.
Yep.
That that group with such a wonderful array of manufacturers that they represent in their territories, really came up with some wonderful topics, and we all dove deep in the last 3 sessions. And I think that when we can get together again in person, it's going to keep getting better. I have to say that because everyone's so comfortable with each other, the calls that you have set up recently on Fridays, every other Friday for the group.
Yep.
I look forward to those calls because it's like speaking to a bunch of friends.
Yeah.
And I know from speaking to some of the other members personally, they share the same feeling, and it's irreplaceable right now.
It's been interesting. When we were talking about it, I was thinking to myself, okay, well, what are we going to do? And should we do a web meeting to basically, because, hey, let's face it, the industry is changing. Mm-hmm. Like it or not, there is going to be a new normal. Nobody knows where that's going to be at yet. But you don't go from a 25% stay-at-home workforce to 100% stay-at-home workforce back down to a 0 workforce, stay-at-home. So there's going to be somewhere in there, and you guys are really working hard to try and keep that spot. And that's why I think that every other week call has been really very educational. And we've got that call on Thursday of this week with that company called Rep Fabric, and we're talking to them. And I have yet to see their software, but the feedback I'm getting is incredible. So it's been a fun process to watch. The only reason that I literally had to come up with an advisory board was the time commitment was so much that I couldn't even focus on my actual job. So
I know the group is much more fun than My Resource Library, but the things that you've been doing, we all looked at each other like, Jeff doesn't have time to. How hard could it be to run our group? We're only so many people.
Yep.
And then, the triumvirate started running, and they're like, this ain't easy.
No, it's not. And I think we're going to be coming up on, by the next meeting, we're probably going to have another election to at least replace 2 out of the 3, and then the other one has an extra year to help the transition. So. Yeah.
And I have to say, when you stepped away from that responsibility, the things that you came out with at My Resource Library were insane.
Well, we're not done.
CET and renderings and the books, and I have to say it's very impressive. And we know that everyone else did all the work. You really didn't need the extra time.
No, I just need no, and that's true. Believe me, I have 17 of the best employees under the sun.
A lot of people,
and I can't brag enough about all of them. They make me look good. So, and that's probably a really hard thing to do. So
yes, we definitely have that in common.
Well, Matt, I want to thank you for your time. We're gonna stop the recording because we're coming up on a little over an hour of recording.
Oh, goodness.
So I'm gonna stop the recording, but don't hang up. But I just want to thank you for your time. I really appreciate learning more about the Levine Contract Furniture Group. I hope I got that right. I get that right. And I hope that you find that we'll get this out on the social media. We'll get it out onto our podcast channel here very soon. And we look forward to getting some feedback from everybody as they learn more about you.
Oh, thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity. And I'm looking forward to the next chat.
Sounds good. Thanks, Matt.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for listening to MRL Speaks. If you aren't already using My Resource Library for all your specifying needs, be sure to get your free account at myresourcelibrary.com today.